Okay. Hi. I guess we're here already. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining our session today. And today's session promises to be insightful as always. And for us at Jobberman, and having this conversation, we push the frontiers in terms of conversations that relates to talent, labor, and the whole world of employability. Today's session is on leveling up, right? How do you level up your career? And I have two amazing guests with me today from Project Management Institute who will be doing justice to conversations as regards getting to the next level of your career. I'm Idris Abdulgafar, Head of Human Resources at Jobberman Nigeria, and I'm just going to let my amazing guests introduce themselves. Paul.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Paul Omugbe. I'm the president of the Project Management Institute Nigeria Chapter.
Hello everyone. My name is Alexander Babs-Jonah. I'm the VP, Vice President, Corporate Relations, PMI Nigeria.
Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for taking our time to have this conversation with me, guys. I'm sure that for both of you, with the wealth and your decades of experience that you both have, especially in project management and everything as it relates to, business and business transformation, this is one of those conversations that, it's important for us to have, right? How do people get better professionally? How do they get to a higher frontier in terms of what they're expecting professionally? I'm just going to start with you, Alexander, right? So in your opinion, as in your current role, I'm sure you would have heard several things as regards people's opinion of what project management entails. What would you think, or how would you describe project management if you were to just respond?
Well, project management, in a very simple way, is about applying, the various tools, techniques, skills in delivering specific outcomes, delivering specific objectives towards your projects. It's being able to understand your stakeholders. It's being able to understand the constraints within your project environment. It's being able to put the whole mix of all these intricacies together in delivering value. The value you're delivering in this point or at this point is your project, and the uniqueness of the objectives of that project are essential, and you have to put that into perspective. So it's you looking at being able to apply the necessary project management processes, the tools, the techniques. There's a science to it, of course, and then there's also the art of being able to engage and talk to people properly, engage people properly, understand the whole essence of what's of interest and who's of influence, and how you can bring all those varying entities together in achieving.
Alexander, I think we might have lost you for a minute. Or is it from my end? Mr. Paul, can you still see and hear me? I think it's Alexander's I think it's Alexander's internet. Just hold on for a second while he tries to get back. But yeah, everything is said so far is pretty important. Stakeholder management, understanding the need for a particular project. How do you get everyone's view aligned as regards what you're looking to achieve? I think that's pretty impressive and is necessary in the world of work today. In your opinion, Mr. Paul, how would you describe project management whilst we try to get Alexander back?
Okay. First of all, let me start by explaining what a project is. Basically, a project can be referred to any temporary endeavor with a beginning and an end date, right? So any temporary endeavor that has a start and an end date is regarded as a project. Now, with that said, you can then say that project management is the application of processes, methods, skills, knowledge, and experiences in achieving specific project deliverables and objectives according to project acceptance criteria within agreed parameters. That whole grammar is basically stating that your whole experience, your knowledge, and the process methods you use in delivering value or delivering a project has to be tied to certain criteria and objectives. That's the basic understanding of what project management is.
Thank you so much for that. I'm sure that several people's opinion, when you hear project management, you think it might be something really grand, but from your explanation, even personal endeavors as long as you know, I mean, using just the same thing you said has a start date and an end date. It's also a project. How do you, whatever it is, how do you complete school? How do you get married? How do you get a job? Everything is a project, and you have a timeline that you set for it. And as long as you know it falls within a particular time frame, and you can put in place, all of these metrics. Important to measure milestones, key milestones at several points in time. Then that's also, that's also a project.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, great steps. Now, I was just going to ask, right? I mean, for you, Mr. Paul, rising to the position that you are at currently, we have Alexander back. Welcome.
My apologies. Seems to be a bit of a snag
Just
with my
internet.
network.
I know.
The thing is that luckily my backup is just worked. So again, you have to
perfect timing.
because you have to consider your contingency. What things could go
Yeah.
wrong. Exactly. It's a project. Things could go
Contingency
wrong, but
plans, yes.
you have a contingency plan for it. You have backups upon backups upon backups.
Great. So Mr. Paul was finishing off, I mean, his explanation of what a project was before you just joined back. And I don't know if there's anything else you might be looking to add as regards your previous explanation of project management, just to wrap that off before we continue.
So basically, the summary of it all is that project management is not just something you just do. There's a science to it. There's a thinking to the applications of processes that you need to adopt and apply in delivering your objectives. Although you can apply it to any facet of life, even your personal life, but like I said, there's a science to it, And then again, of course, there's the art part of being able to engage, and being able to manage your stakeholders effectively. That's basically it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I was just asking Paul before you joined that, I was about to ask if you could kindly share a brief story, right, as regards how he rose through the ranks, to where he is currently. I mean, that's going to be one that I'm sure people are willing to listen to.
Okay, good. So for me, it's funny, but I started out my career in accounting. I'm a chartered accountant by profession first, before a project manager. So starting out, and I started out my career in audits, right? So I was doing more value for money audits. So explain how I was able to go through rise through the ranks. Two things stands out for me. One, personal development, and then your relationships in terms of your career relationships. So for me, I made a point to I made a commitment to myself, right, to always improve myself professionally. So I invest a whole lot in personal development career-wise. So I do courses, I take professional courses, I take certifications, and that's the way I improve myself. And then on the work side, of course, you have to learn from experience, learn from your superiors, learn from the processes and your rules. And for me, I think constantly doing that over several industries, because I left audit, moved into advertising and media, moved from advertising and media into health, and now I'm back in management consulting. So these are separate industries, right? But what has pulled me through this whole process is just two things, right? Personal development, career-wise, and then my relationships while going through these various roles. Because one thing is to move into a new role, you'll be asked for referrals. Can you go back to your previous boss and ask him to give you a referral, right, for a next role? If you can't do that, then you're not building the right relationships. So relationships is very key, and then personal development. So that's basically the summary of how I got to this position.
Thank you so much. I mean, I'm sure that people are taking notes right now. I mean, you've said a few things that, I had to write as well. I mean, self-development is key. We can't understate how important it is in the world of work today. Knowledge is so transcendent. What you learned 3 years ago, 1 year ago, 6 months ago, in another 4 months is still knowledge.
Yeah.
So if you're consistently banking on, this is how this was being sorted out at a particular point in time, you'll be out of the market in no time. And again, relationship management, relationship building is also key. I mean, don't burn all of these bridges with the assumption that, hey, I'm moving forward, I might never need these relationships. It's and again, another thing from what you just said was transferable skills. I mean, across all of the
Yeah.
industries you've moved in, audits, advertising, and all of this, it's if you do not have a set of skills that you think that, okay, you know what, regardless of the industry I'm playing in, this would work wherever it is. I mean, your skill set will just be obsolete because you're not
Yeah.
constantly evolving with time.
Very true.
Thank you. True, true. I think Alexander is having back and
Okay,
forth with
he's
his
back now.
internet today. You're back. Okay.
Apologies for that.
Oh no, we totally understand. So now I'm just going to get into the thick of things, right? For you, Alexander, how would you, what are those do's and don'ts you think you'd be willing to share to job seekers, graduates, people who are looking to move or switch into, project management or move into this industry?
Okay, one of them, and there are quite a number of do's and don'ts. One of the most important do's is that you have to be intentional. Intentional in respect to self-development. I mean, Mr. President and my colleague Paul just mentioned it now that you have a roadmap, you know where you want to be, and you're journeying towards that direction. So you have to be intentional towards that fact. You have to tell yourself, okay, um, where do I want to be in the next 1 year, in the next 2 years, in the next 5 years? I mean, the world is moving at such a fast pace that you really need to um, try and project as best as you can in the shortest of terms. What am I saying? 5 years ago, I'm in the digital space in telcos. 10 years ago, the infrastructure we used is totally different from what we do today. 10 years ago was all about having things on premise. Right now, you're having things on cloud. Now, you need to be in that space to understand it. You need to be able to project yourself in such a way that you remain relevant. So one of the things, the two do's is not a question of, oh, I am certified today and that's it. Or what certifications do I need to take and that's it. You need to continuously go look beyond certifications into applying yourself, into gaining experience. You see, the more you do, the more you know, because it becomes a habit of doing. And you become an expert at what you do. So one of the key things is create yourself a journey map. Where do you want to be? For project management, for instance, what sort of project manager do I want to become? Do I just want to be someone? Is it just about a job? It should be beyond a job. It should be a profession. To be a profession means that you must consider the value you bring. Once you can look at things from a value perspective, it's no longer about it's no longer about you, but it's about the things that you can achieve for your organization. You understand? That's value management takes you. I mean, in my own growth, I was always looking about myself at some point. But you develop beyond looking about yourself into looking at what can you bring for others. Develop yourself to that point where you're able to be of value to just about any organization you walk into. Oil and gas, IT, telecoms, you know, name it FMCG. You just, because and that's what project management is all about. It's about making you an all-rounder, not just about projects, but even as a general manager, you become a star at what you do. So the first thing is make sure you're intentional about your
Intentional.
development.
Oh,
Oh, bro,
Alexander, I
gets
think
into me.
you left. Yes, today's that day, I guess. I mean,
Apologies.
Okay, he's back.
no, he's back. He's back.
Beyond intentional with regards to your own self-development plan is to seek out a mentor. Get to be in a community where you have people of like mind who can help mentor you and guide you in your growth. You don't have to learn my mistakes. You can learn from my mistakes. You don't have to make the same mistakes I made. That's what I'm trying to say. But with something we call lessons learned. We have a lessons learned log, and we understand with the mistakes we've made in the past, and we continuously try to improve. So that's why you continuously apply yourself into the next project. So Be intentional, get a mentor, apply yourself, get yourself into projects. I mean, as a young person, you say, I don't have a job. How do I apply myself? It doesn't have to necessarily be a job. It could be in your community. It could be at your place of worship. It could be with something personal in your family. But start to apply those principles of project management, those processes, those tools and techniques, and you start to see that you start to see that you have a value that you can bring to a table. Businesses today are looking for people who can bring value. And it's not about talk. Talk is cheap. It's about the value you bring
Talk
to the
is
table.
cheap.
You know, what can you deliver on? We deliver in project management. Sorry, I'm wearing a jacket. Normally, project managers
Ah,
don't
come
do
on.
jackets. We remove this stuff and we fold the sleeves and we get the job done.
I know.
That's who we are. Then the don'ts. Sorry, I'm taking this long, but the don'ts are very
No, no, of
simple.
course.
The first thing in the don'ts is one, project managers must always, don't get arrogant, don't get proud. We're a humble bunch of people because we need people to deliver. We work through others. And it's important that you're able to win the hearts and minds of people for them to work with you. And so the first thing, you don't need to be a full project manager to learn this. You start to learn it now, it becomes a habit, and you're able to bring that to bear, you know. So another thing you don't do is you don't shoot down methodologies. We're PMI. There are other methodologies, there are other frameworks. In PMI, we take the best of the best. We take the best of learnings and we try and use it to deliver value to customers. So in PMI, we talk about Six Sigma, we talk about TQM, we talk about other frameworks. You know, the PMI is even about Agile, and Scrum, and all of those frameworks to be able to go into the next generation and to deliver more value. So one of the things you don't do is you don't stop seeking knowledge. In PMI, we even talk about business analysis. The project manager must know all of these areas. There are areas of knowledge in the PMP exams. You have on PMP area, on PM book for that matter. You have things like procurement. So to know all these things means that you're open to learning. So don't stop learning. So that's my summary. Don't stop learning. Keep yourself open. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Paul. Any add words you want to add to that?
I think Alexander said it all. What I can just add to that is, for me, dudes always have a growth mindset. Growth mindset means a mindset of adding value, a mindset of moving from point A to point B. That's something that you always have to do. And basically, don't is just the reverse of it. You can't be in a place and you don't want to grow, or you can't be in a place and you don't want to add value, right? So I tell people every that work with me, right? You can't be the same person in January as you in December. You can't be the same person as you were in January. Then you've not made any form of improvement, right? So always have the growth mindset, and I think that's basically what I can add to what Alexander has already said.
Okay. Thank you. So now I'm just going to ask, either of you can take this, right?
Yeah.
Is project management certification for everyone, or is it just for people who wish to work in project management?
Okay, let me use myself as an example. I'm a chartered accountant, right?
Okay.
I'm a financial analyst, but I'm also a project manager. So what I would say is this, right? Yes, project management is for anyone and everyone, and that's because everyone has one project or the other going on. They just do not know. Your life itself is a project. You have a start and the end date. Say you were born and day you leave this world, right? So there's a start and the end date. So that's my own ideology. So everyone, be it a doctor, be it a nurse, be it a social worker, be it a lecturer, be it an accountant, be it an engineer, you have to get the knowledge of project management to take your career to the next level. So for me, everyone can be a project manager.
Alexander, you're smiling. Were you about to say something?
Well, I am 100% in agreement with Paul. I actually will take it a bit further. A tea lady should be a project manager in your office. The same way you would have your topmost engineer in an engineering firm be a project manager. What I mean by project manager, it's not about the title, it's about the knowledge.
Yeah.
It's about being able to do things in a certain way. You know, when you see the guy, you know, yeah, cleaning the office, and you ask him, why is he cleaning this office? He tells you, because I'm part of a team, and this office needs to be clean for the team to function. You know, in project management, we have various theories. For example, in resource management, we have things like husband spiel that talks about, the absence of certain things. If you see a place that is unclean, you can't walk in there. You may not notice it when it's clean, but I can guarantee you'll notice it when it's not clean. Now, who's the person who's going to clean the office to make it suitable for guys to work and deliver? And if everyone in the organization understands the value they bring, remember, I keep emphasizing the word value, they bring to the team, then they'll do things differently. And that's what project management tries to do. The ability to make you do things differently in such a way that by the time you aggregate the little things everyone does, the organization is doing a whole lot more. That's the idea. Do more with less. So I believe everyone and anyone should have project management skills. It should be a 101 in our universities, for instance. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I mean, if we if the minute we start to have conversations as regards curriculum for schools and our universities, I'm sure we would pretty much spend the entirety of our conversation today doing just that. But I mean, it's important, like you had mentioned, right? Now that it's been said, everyone should aspire to become a project manager, go through the process of learning, get the learnings, get the education. It's always important for you. Now, I'm just going to ask this, right? As one of the biggest chapters in Africa for Project Management Institute, what is Project Management Nigeria? I mean, doing to help young Nigerians scale up? Are there opportunities you want people to take advantage of?
Okay. So PMI globally and in the Nigeria chapter, we've come up with several initiatives to help people acquire the project management skills. One of them, which we started last year during the lockdown, was the PMP initiatives, where we had to partner with our ATPs, which are authorized training partners, so that we can have boot camps, monthly boot camps for those who want to write the PMP exam at a discounted amount, right? And this has been running since last year till now. That's one of the major initiatives PMI has done to make it easy for people to be able to get the knowledge of project management. That's one. The other thing we've also done is to have discounts. For instance, like Alexander mentioned, being a part of the community, having mentors, right? So we've made our chapter membership, which is $30. We have chapter codes which you give for free once you're a global member, right? So that way people can be local chapter members, and you belong to the community, and you have mentors that can put you through. And then to further add to that, we also have discounts for the PMP exam. Currently, there's a 26% discount running on writing the PMP exam, and this has been going on since January, right? I think it's ending October. I'm not so sure, but there is a discount going on. So these are the various initiatives that we've done to make sure that people can acquire knowledge of project management and in Nigeria specifically.
Okay. Thank you so much. Now, Alexander, I'm just going to ask, right? I mean, in your opinion, so far, I mean, going through your profile and your zeal for knowledge, and how you're constantly driving innovation and pushing through innovation, what would that thing be if you were to say one word, right, for young job seekers or job seekers across the world, or anyway, to say this is one thing that I think, one key element or key skill that I don't want you to lose? What would that one thing be?
Oh, that's that's like asking how many drops are in the ocean, because there's so many things I don't want to
I
lose.
know,
But
I know, right?
one key thing I would say is that don't lose the ability to be curious. Curiosity. Be curious.
Curiosity.
Be curious. Be curious. Try and be curious about things. Why is this way? We were trained to ask the question why. As a kid, you ask why. Your kids ask you why. Your cousins, your nieces, you always be curious. Be curious to learn. Because once we stop learning, we stop adding value to ourselves or to anyone around us. So we need to be curious. We need to not let the current environment dictate who we are or what we are or the current situations around us. You need to be curious in terms of being national and global. Curious for Nigeria, curious for Africa, curious for the world. You need to have that curiosity mindset so that you can make things happen, you know. And when you're curious, you're able to see things around you that you never saw before. And you're able to envisage where you want to see happen because you get to learn knowledge, and then knowledge is power, and it begins to liberate you to see other things in other ways and other places of value. So there's more I can say about it, but I would just keep it at remain curious. I believe I've seen the innovation in our youth to an extent, and they are awesome. So if that curiosity remains, I'm sure we'll even do much more, in the Nigerian space. So remain curious.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alexander. There is a question just popping up for Mr. Paul. I'm sure I will need details of the examination discount and boot camp. How do I get the details, please?
I think we'll share. I don't know if we can share it on this platform, but I think it's available. What you can do is reach out to the chapter. Just send an email to projectmanagementnigeria.org, and then we'll respond to you.
Okay. Thank you. I mean, people are getting pumped already. Knowledge is about to be shared. Examination discounts and boot camp. I guess people are really, really, in tune, right? I mean, beyond that, there are several. The reason for us, doing this campaign and having conversations as regards leveling up, right, is how do we also contribute our quota into getting young Nigerians, everyone across the world, really, to a large extent, employable, right? I mean, how do you get upskilled? How do you get all of these learnings that you need at any particular point in time? And that's the reason why we're having conversations like this. And beyond, just conversations like this on our website right now, I mean, we are also offering our own, discounts for your CV services. How would you get that, resume done properly? How would you put yourself out there to our employers, to everyone to say that, okay, you know what? Alexander has a certain amount of years experience, but he's not probably maybe presenting himself as he should, right? And how do we help, get him to the room and have these conversations? So yes, and okay, I mean, we've just seen a lot of questions pop up. Okay, great. Info at PMI Nigeria.org for Samuel who had asked the question earlier as regards examination discount and boot camps. So, what key steps, did you take, Alexander, to get you to this point? Beyond being intentional and all of those things, what key steps did you take? Because your experience seems to have, you've been doing this for well over 2 decades now. I'm sure that there are certain key things that you would have told yourself, at the onset, that this is what I'm going to do. What are those key steps?
Well, I think one of the key steps is being able to quickly identify what I enjoy doing and what really is a passionate thing for me, And besides, so the first thing was identifying a passion, and where does my passion lie? I like working with people. I as much as I have a technical background, I'm also lucky enough to not be an introvert. So I do talk and engage with people. And so that first key step was able to get me to the point where I could identify with the fact that I enjoy doing this. It's very important that you do what you enjoy. You're doing what you enjoy. Because when things start getting hard, what keeps you going is the fact that you enjoy what you do. Things will get hard, and another key step I tried to get was the fact that I was able to determine what I wanted to achieve within a particular point in time. In the next 3 years, I'll achieve this, regardless of whatever I went through. I mean, you work in different organizations with different bosses and different people. They rub us in the good ways, the bad ways. We learn certain things, we get upset, but try and keep your, I mean, I'm speaking factual. Let's try and keep your eye on the ball. What is your objective? Leave the storyboard of project management. Live your life like a project. And ask, what's your storyboard? What is your objective? And regardless of what's happening around you, I try to focus on that objective. I try to, apart from identifying what I enjoy doing, I also try to focus on the next step on what my key objectives are wherever I work. I mean, and you can ask my previous employers, I have like a run time. What am I going to achieve in this place, and how long am I going to be in this particular place? I mean, some people might say, no, you should spend longer hours. I'm not saying staying 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, 20 years is good or bad. I'm not dictating for timing. I'm only saying you need to have a plan. And my plan has worked for me because it's made me fulfilled. So you need to look inwardly. What is your fulfillment? You can't spend all your life working and you're sad. You go in, you're sad. You come out, you're sad. Come on. And then what do you do when you retire? You talk about sad stories. You know, you have to find a balance. Do what you do, identify what it is you're doing, and identify the journey you're going to take. You know, another key step is very important key step. I'd like to say, apart from being intentional, is getting the right mentors, getting the right people around you. I was able to find people who would tell me, just do it, who would challenge me. I've had bosses. I mean, working back in the days in MTN, I had a boss called Mr. Braithwaite. We called him Mr. B. He will challenge you. He'll tell you to do stuff, and you're like, "Can I do this stuff?" You know, People like that were instrumental towards my growth, and many other gentlemen that I've met and ladies I've met through the course of my career. You need to find such individuals and let them. They might be hard on you sometimes, but they what like they say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So so those are some of the things that you identify with. Again, which is very important. You need to understand that I try to do is understand the trends, the global trends. Do not base your career on what's happening in one particular place or time. Build your career based on the trend, the global trend. The trend of today is a trend whereby customers need value almost immediately. And what service can deliver that? The likes of agility, agile delivery over watershed in certain cases, and all of that kind of journey map. The world is looking at AI. Can you be an AI project manager? The world is looking at security. Can you be a security project manager that would avoid malwares? The world is looking at digitization. Can you be a project manager in that space? What does it take? So that's the thing. You need to look ahead of you. The world is looking at the world of AWS and all of that, web services and all of that. Where do you find yourself in that space? You know, if you're going to look at deliveries in Nigeria, Jumias and Congas and newer ones and smaller SMEs, where do you see yourself being able to be a project manager to be able to provide delivery services, projects that support delivery services? It's going to grow in Nigeria, if you get what I mean. So that's you've been again looking at the journey map of where you find yourself and how you want to position yourself, all of that. So these are some of the things that I was able to identify. I'm still identifying them because life is a continuous process.
Yeah.
So that's really it.
Thank you so much, Alexander. Paul, anything you were going to add to that?
To add to what Alexander said, first of all, you need to know what you stand for. Most people just live life not having a core value. For me, I stand for value creation, right? Wherever I go to, wherever I find myself, wherever I see myself, I want to create value. Now, once that's my core, that's what I believe in. With that, I can now set my objectives, goals, and then work towards it, right? Something Alexander said that was very important about work life is if you do a job that you don't love, then for me, I would say that you live a miserable life because ask anyone today, you spend more time at work than you spend anywhere else. So if you work, you spend more time at work, and if you don't like your job, then basically you won't like your life. That's right. So for me, it's you need to actually identify what you stand for, and based on that, you would now set your goals and objectives, and then work towards it. One more thing is we need to have an agile mindset. We need to be able to adapt to change, because we're in a society where things are evolving, right? New innovations, trends. So you have to follow the trends. You have to want to change, right? And once you have that agility mindset, I think you would be able to achieve whatever you want to achieve in life, basically. And then last thing I would say, tell people, always think big. It doesn't pay anyone to think small. Think big. It doesn't cost you anything. It's your imagination. Think big. Once you can think big, then you can set your goals and objectives to work towards your thoughts. And like you say, things first happen as thoughts, right? So you have to think first before it becomes reality. So I would tell people to think big.
Thank you so much for that. I
Yeah,
mean,
you're welcome.
too many nuggets of wisdom have been shared already. I'm sure that for everyone who's, I mean, tuning in and watching this at a particular point in time, you can't afford to leave this conversation, not feeling empowered and enlightened as regards, next steps for a year. For me, I mean, several things have been said. Clarity is important. You need to know what it is you're about to do, what you want to do, right? I mean, growth mindset is also important. How it is not going to serve you in any form, like you had mentioned, to think small. Thinking small of yourself, how is that serving? I mean, it's not going to serve you in any way or manner.
Yeah.
Think big. I mean, go all out. Learn as much as you can possibly think of, And also, I mean, stay abreast of information and what's happening in the world of work today. You can't afford to, be in that space where you're thinking of what was applicable a few years ago. That's it. Now, in your experience so far, right? Any of you can take this. I mean, could you tell me one challenge you experienced in managing a project, at least as far as Nigeria is concerned, and how did you, overcome that?
Okay, for me, it's basically two things: managing stakeholders, people, and then the change in policies coming from the accounting my accounting background. You have a lot of policies changing, like you're aware about what's happening with VAT, states and federal government. So these things actually affect projects and deliverables. For me, what has kept me above these challenges is, again, to have an agile mindset. You need to be able to adapt. You need to be able to change, right? Today, if states are now paying VAT, you have to adapt. So you have to change your plans, right? And that, for me, those are the two things I would say have been quite challenging. And I say challenges as part of the work process. As a project manager, you have to face challenges. It's one of the things you build into your project management plan, and it's more like the risk, right? And how do you value your risk? How do you assess your risk? How do you respond to your risk, right? So for me, those are the key things, and how I've been to deal with them.
Okay, Alexander.
Well, for me, being into technology and more on management with technology, it's the ability to take my sponsors and stakeholders and have them think more commercial. Though they're technical, have a more commercial mindset in the delivery of the work that they do. Because, I mean, from a technical perspective, things are pretty straightforward. You're a coder, you code. You're a design architect, you design. You know, I mean, we have a solution delivery lifecycle that is very, very clear. It's clear. You know what you're meant to do. Either you don't know how to do it is a different thing, but you know what you're meant to do. But in most cases, technical hands don't understand the cost implications of what they do, or how the costing comes together to bring a final product, or what is that output that becomes invariably an outcome to the business, and what is their contribution to the financial output. So Paul, for instance, he understands the commercials, he understands the numbers, he understands how each resource comes together to do what he needs to do and the value that person brings in terms of a commercial mindset perspective. Now, on the technical side, you find that there's a bit of a lacuna, a bit of a gap in that space where even with the CTOs and the rest, it's important that they're able to appreciate. A lot of CTOs being on the C level already, they already have broken that barrier. They're already in the commercial thinkers as well. But there's still the need for others in the organization or the IT business or IT department to understand that it should be run as a business. There should be a commercial think tank in it. That's very, very important. So that's one thing that I find a bit of a challenge, but at the same time, like Paul said, the challenge is an opportunity, to be able to bring value. Because once they see the value they bring, then they're able to deliver more. And so a lot of times, especially when you're going to do a pitch, that you're going to meet a client and talk about a project with the client. When you start talking about all the fancy stuff about development and architecture and all of that, they really can't understand what you're talking about. When you bring the numbers, the financials into it, and you can show the ROI, return on investments, you can begin to tell them what their internal rate of returns will be, and all of that kind of stuff. They begin to say, okay, now I see. You mean if I invest this amount, this is what's going to come out? You mean that on this kind of project, if we provide this data service to each customer, customers today are paying maybe 70, 80,000 naira a month for all their data services, from phone calls, data at home, and all whatnot. You mean I can slash the price down by 50 and half of the customers in a particular location? It begins to see the numbers, and it's a different ball game. So communication and being able to put that across. So the second thing is communication again. So apart from being able to bring the financial acumen to project management for technical resources, is the ability to understand how to communicate. Communication is becoming very, very challenging in project management or in our lives generally, because now we have different channels. We have the social media channel, and we're still dancing around that channel, not knowing how to effectively utilize that channel. Of course, you can do pictures, graphics, and all of that. You can tell a million people what you're doing on your project by click of a button. But at the same time, you can tell a million people the wrong thing about the project with a click of a button. So the whole essence of communication and how to, and appreciate technology and utilize it in terms of projects is it's a continuous learning. I wouldn't say it's we're all learning it. We're beginning to try and understand how to navigate social media in itself, how to be able to utilize that even more on projects. Imagine you see projects being, the whole journey on a project on Instagram, for instance, where you can see from the cradle to grave on a project. We haven't seen so much of that yet, but maybe in the future we'll begin to see more of that. Or maybe where I stand, I haven't seen more of that. But these are some of the journeys we will see come in the near future in terms of communication. Even in our methodologies, you begin to see where some of these channels begin to fit in as a touch point. Back in the days, I'll say back in the days, but that's the reality. Face-to-face communication was the apex form of communication. Yeah. But we all know what's going on in the world. So how do we replace that? And how do we make it effective? In the way we do.
This would have been a conference or a panel conversation in some space right now. We're having all of this conversation virtually. And Paul is your finance guy, true and true. The minute you said ROI, his face lit up, and I'm like, yes, right. You can always tell a finance needs at any point in time. Great, Mikina. Thank you so much. It's important for everyone to consider these things.
Yeah.
Once you have an agile mindset, regardless of whatever challenges that pops up, you're constantly thinking above the curve. Oh, this has happened. How do I fix this? Oh, that has happened. Because the world of work is, the common phrase would always be volatile, uncertain. You can't particularly map out everything that you're going to feel at any particular point in time. If it is all well, all good, maybe you're in utopia, but that's not an ideal state. You can't probably get that everywhere. If it's not policies that are changing, maybe there's a new government regulation or something just happened socially. As at this time last year, okay, no, well, we're already in the pandemic as at this time, but 2 years ago, everything, the whole world still seemed pretty, quiet at some point. Beyond generic other things around insecurity. But in a fell swoop and everybody's working from home, we are all locked in. Who can imagine what future of work and I mean life generally will be in another 3, 4, 5 years, and you imagine that you're not going to change or evolve with times because this is what's happening. I mean,
Exactly.
more things would always come. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, this has been, I'm sure for everyone who's listening, it's an impactful conversation already. Check the PMI website. I mean, there would always be conversations as regards how best to become a member. Check the Jobberman website too. The challenge is currently running. For us right now, the major thing is how do we get employers, I mean, our partners and, job seekers, the right resume for them to also get to that point where they could have these conversations and then just be the pinnacle of your career. Thank you so much. I don't know if there is any more question that's popping in for us to respond to. Okay, I think I see a question here. Someone had asked a question earlier as regards being on probation and any advice as regards how you can get through that. Alexander, Paul, who wants to take it?
Okay, let me go first. Being on probation, you have a JD, right? When you offer the job, you're given a job description. Your major objective is to do one thing, to make sure you fulfill everything in your JD. That's number one. Number two, it's to also do more than you are being called to do, right? There are organizations where they will tell you you are hired to do a certain role, right? And you are hired for that role because they knew or they know that you are qualified for that role. So every additional perks, every additional benefit comes with extraordinary work, right? So when there are extraordinary assignments, they expect you to show your intelligence, not on your normal job, because if you're your normal job, you actually have the knowledge to do that, right? So with that said, if you're on probation, two things you need to focus on: your deliverables, right? You have to focus on deliverables. And the next thing is then to manage your it's in project management, call it stakeholders management. Manage your team, manage your superiors, manage your subordinates, manage those who work with you, because at the end of the day, it's someone that's going to assess you, right? So it's you have either a superior the HR that will
Up and
assess you,
down, yes.
exactly, and then below you have people who would either support you or will go against you. So it's all stakeholders management. So if you do that right, I think you will scale through your position period.
Okay, thank you so much, Alexander.
Paul has hit the nail on the head. The first thing is understand your JD. Interpret your JD in terms of the performance appraisal system that you have in your organization. What are you being appraised upon? That's your basic. That will probably get you through your probation, but will not make you a high flyer. You don't want to just pass probation. You want to get through probation and be one of those that would be marked for the next level of promotion, as the case might be. So you have to look at your JD and look at those areas within your JD that you also the organization or your department requires, that no one is able to fulfill. So you do that part. Give the extra. It's not about going after your boss and being the guy who is always carrying the boss's bag or saying good morning or all of that. I mean, to be honest with you, be polite and all of that is important, but the value you bring is more important.
Value.
The value you bring is much more important. So, be the person who's ready to go the extra mile. If there's a job to be done, get the job done. I mean, back in the days, we had engineers who would stay back. We close work at 5. You have an engineer who is on the sales site till 6. He got there and stayed till 6 to bring up the site. That 1 hour difference has made the business so much money, because if he had left at 5, the sales site would not be up. He could have left, closed work for the day, but he waited the extra 1 hour to bring up the sales site. Between 6 and 8 o'clock in the morning, that sales site has started to generate revenue for the business. Imagine if he had left at 5, there will be no revenue generated. And it's within his prerogative to leave at 5.
True.
Exactly. It's perfect to do that. But he waited the 1 hour, and the 1 hour generated a full, 8 or more hours for the business in terms of revenue. Now, the organization will notice that. They will notice such things. And such a person is on probation. What do you think? He's not just gonna get the job, he's gonna get the supervisory role thereafter. I mean,
True.
we're not emphasizing everyone should stay 1 hour extra at work.
Oh, of course.
That's
Of
not
course.
that's not the focus. The focus is whatever you can do to ensure as a team player you're able to move the needle forward. Every organization would appreciate that. Put yourself as the owner of the organization and ask yourself, would this be of value to you? You know, do not have an entitlement mindset, rather have a giving mindset. If you have that sort of mindset, in terms of your probation, you will do more and you'll scale through. But if you have the mindset of, well, I've done what I need to do and I'm okay, then you have yourself wanting. But look at the extra bit. When it comes to people, stakeholder management, you can never go wrong with that. Like Paul said, at the end of the day, you're going to be assessed by people, and perception matters. Yes, perception matters. If you're a hard worker and the perception is you don't do anything, unfortunately, we're human beings. Subjectivity comes into play, and you get measured on that. There's a caption in your performance appraisal that would have that people management part, and you could find one thing on
Of
that,
course.
and that could deter you. So find a balance, understand your colleagues, try and do a private profiling of your colleagues, and understand how to engage with them. Who are your early morning people that you can have coffee with in the morning? Who are those that maybe you guys can strike a little bit of a research, or they like to research on things and you have the same interest. Why not? You might have those who like to play video games in the evening. You can probably play your PlayStations together in the evening. Who knows? Sorry, I'm working from an IT environment. We used to do a lot of that in the office.
I know, right?
So it depends. You just find a balance with people, and don't lock yourself up in a cocoon, and come out of your shell and make more friends, get to know more people, and I'm sure you'll be able to go scale through your probation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, we could keep having this conversation almost all afternoon, and I'm sure would not get tired. I mean, we've delved into a lot of topics as regards, employability, work, and things for people to, even basic life skills, for people to
Definitely.
also, get a hang on. But thank you so much for taking our time to have this conversation with me,
Thank you
Alexander.
very much.
I mean, just final words would just be, check PMI Nigeria, follow through their pages, check Jobberman Nigeria as well. I mean, as always, employability, world of work, and all of these things are frontiers of conversations that we consistently push at every point in time. So that would pretty much be it. Thank you so much for joining in. Have a beautiful afternoon. Thank you so much, Alexander.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you. All
Bye.
right then. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Cheers.
Bye bye. Cheers. Bye.